Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about what you need to know about helping babies sleep. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I have a Bachelor of Kinesiology degree and I'm a chiropractor by training, but I really found my passion in empowering parents to teach their little ones to sleep and parent confidently day and night as a sleep and parenting consultant. Because this journey you're on, it may start with sleep, but it's often just your first parenting obstacle. And I like to guide parents through that first one and others as well. I am originally from Canada and Ontario, but I live here in the Bay Area on the peninsula. My kids are 9 and 7. I have a book called The Helping Baby Sleep Method, The Art and Science of Teaching Your Baby to Sleep, because that's what I'm about. Science and the art of it. So we often talk about mindfulness when it comes to parenting as well. Since 2013, I've helped over 1,000 families get their sleep on track. Our blog gets about 130 unique hits a month, and I am a member of the Society of Behavioral Sleep Medicine and Wink Sleep. So I am fortunate enough to be a mentee of one of the researchers on one of the only randomized controlled studies about sleep training and pediatrics that basically show that there was no long-term effects on bond or attachment in doing short-term bouts of sleep training. So a little bit about me. Let me ask you a little bit about you. Why are you here? Well, it could be for a few different reasons, and I'll tell you about kind of the people that I generally work with. My clients include people in the newborn stage who want to avoid the common parenting pitfalls that often they went through before. A lot of these parents are second or even third time parents who are like, there has to be a different way to do this. And in fact, there is. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. I also work with a lot of people who are in what I call in trouble mode. They have unsustainable sleep practices. That might be a baby who only sleeps on you, who wakes up multiple times a night, who takes short naps, takes a long time to get baby to fall asleep, or just feel overall that sleep could be better. Why are we even talking about sleep? Well, it's super important, right? We all know that it's so important for your physical health and your mental and emotional health. And I like this little one-liner. I remember somebody saying this to me in a discovery call. I wish I was as tired as I thought I was before I have kids, right? Like, it is really exhausting mentally and physically. And we literally can't live without sleep. It is so important for our physical growth. When we are in deep sleep, growth hormone is being released in our deep sleep cycles, which helps us build muscle and bones. It's super, super important for growth and development. While you're sleeping, your brain is also being washed of toxins being removed. And one of the really important things is your immune system actually revs up at night to fight off infections, foreign invaders, and whatnot. When you fall asleep, most of our systems actually kind of slow down. Like your heart rate slows down, your respiration slows down, your digestion slows down, but your immune system really ramps up. Sleep's also important because we know that as kids get older, a lack of sleep is associated with obesity in school-age kids and adults. We can see failure to thrive in babies or toddlers, and it's associated with the onset of many diseases. Sleep is just like one of the building blocks to great health. Now, if we're talking about when is the best time to work on baby sleep, well, really from day one is a great time to be thinking about sleep, and you will be anyway. But what people don't realize is that we're actually, inadvertently for most of us, teaching our baby what sleep looks like in those first 4 to 10 weeks of age, right? A lot of people don't know, but you can actually work on gentle newborn sleep shaping in that those first few months. I didn't know this with my son. I ended up inadvertently teaching him that the boob was a soother and I had to nurse him back to sleep every 2-3 hours in the night for months on end. Is there anything wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that if that's working for you. Right? My saying is, if it works for you, it works for me. It just didn't work for me, and now I know what's possible, and I just want other people to know what's possible for them too. 10 years ago, when I was going through this with my son, there was not a lot of information out there, believe it or not. Now I actually feel like, wow, there's too much information. There's so many conflicting ideas. There's a lot of clickbait on the internet, and it's hard to really know what is possible for you. Sleep is also a very personal thing, where you are going to have different opinions than maybe your neighbor, and that's okay because there's more than one way to raise a child. You just have to figure out what that way is for you that's sustainable and feels good. After 4 months of age, that's when we're really talking about, like, if you've heard sleep training, which I prefer to call sleep teaching, because when you understand sleep's a skill, which we're going to talk about in a minute, you realize you're actually teaching your kiddos to sleep, which you're doing also in that first 4 to 10 weeks of age. We're teaching kids, we're imprinting what sleep looks like. For many of us, it's something that's that places them reliant on something external. So for me, it was I nursed my son to sleep. And that, again, I feel like if that's working for you, amazing. It just wasn't working for me. So then after 4 months of age, I felt like I could no longer be responsible to make sleep happen. And I had to work on setting him up for success with timing of sleep and messaging of sleep and helping him develop some self-soothing skills. The research actually shows that kids can self-soothe as early as 3 to 4 months of age. I generally either work on it earlier or a little bit later than 3 months. 3 months can be a hard time to make changes. In my book, we talk about that as kind of the holding period time. The Helping Baby Sleep method has 5 pillars to great sleep habits and happy babies. So the first one is really understanding, this is a big one, this is the takeaway point. The drive to sleep is biological, but the way we sleep is actually a learned habit. A learned habit, like I was talking about. You can imprint it early on. We also talk about timing. So understanding timing of feeding and sleep, too soon or too late for both feeding and sleeping can actually make it harder on your little one to thrive. The third pillar is intentional feeding. So are you using food to fuel versus soothe? Again, nothing wrong with soothing to sleep, but I just found that I was ending up in something I've coined the term the snacking cycle. So my little one fed frequently throughout the day and then had to do that through the night because he never really took full feeds. He basically ruined his dinner, if you will. The fourth pillar is messaging and being consistent, because when you understand sleep as a learned habit, how do you learn? You learn with repetition and consistency. And in the newborn stage, we're talking about assisting sleep happening. And the fifth pillar is responding. So if I'm 4 months and older and I take away the known way of falling asleep, how do I offer comfort to the tears of frustration that will likely come because they're tired and I'm changing something on them and making them work harder? In the newborn stage, we're not doing that, but we are troubleshooting. Hey, my little one's having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. What else could be happening here? The most important thing I want you to know about sleep from this presentation really is what I said before. The drive to sleep is biological. So this is the idea that your body uses this ATP molecule as fuel for energy. It splits that molecule. One of the products is fuel, necessary for respiration, metabolism, all of that stuff. The other byproduct is this protein called adenosine, which builds up and it signals your brain it's time to sleep. So sleep drive is based on how fast you're growing, which is why as your child gets older, they can stay awake for longer periods because they're not growing as quickly. Babies really are growing so exponentially those first 5 months, they will double their body weight. And that's why they need a lot of naps. So the drive to sleep is biological, but the way we sleep is really learned habit. And this learning, like I said, it happens between 4 and 10 weeks of age. After 4 months of age, we're working on sleep training, which, if you know, I hate that phrase because we train dogs, but we teach our kids, and that's what this is. It's a learned skill, sleep teaching. And maybe it should really even be called sleep reteaching, right? Because we are undoing a certain way of sleeping, which we have now found to be unsustainable. Babies do really get used to falling asleep a certain way with rocking or feeding. And then they wake up to the world. And, you know, at that 4 month sleep regression, that's a pivotal time for a lot of people. They're like, oh my gosh, this is now becoming unsustainable. So what can we help you with here today? Well, one of my favorite things is this simple sleep summary by age chart. And you can get this yourself if you go take my quiz at helpingbabysleep.com/sleep desk quiz. This is for babies 0 to 24 months of age. And in general, like most kids need about 11 hours of overnight sleep. The newborn stage is different because the research shows that they will actually sleep in 3 to 4 hour chunks around the clock, which is why you have those late bedtimes and those later wake ups. The circadian rhythm does mature around 4 months and again really well around 6 months of age. And this chart will show you like how long your child can comfortably stay awake between naps, how much naps and nap hours they need per day, and their average overall amount of sleep. And there will be some variation on that average. I wish I'd put a little larger range on that. Don't get too freaked out on that. There is some individual differences in how much sleep your child does need. But 11 hours overnight is pretty average after 4 months of age up to into the elementary years. And when can your baby sleep through the night? That's the magical question that everyone asks me. It really does depend on your food source and then on sleeping habits. Food source you have some, and sleeping habits you do have some control over. But food source, that's because bottle-fed kids in general can sleep through earlier because their parents have more confidence. They have a known quantity of food that they got in that day, which may change how they respond in the night. Sometimes not. You know, I've definitely had work with bottle-fed kids who are drinking like 40 ounces of food in 24 hours. The recommended range is 25 to 30, but they're eating so much more because they're using it to soothe back to sleep in the night. in general, and again, these are generalizations, 4 to 9 months, a lot of kids are eating once in the nighttime over 11 hours. And a lot of my kids over 10 months are not eating at all any of the night. But that totally has variations. If you're bottle fed, most of my bottle fed kids, we can get this down to 11 hours in the 4-month period. What does sleep look like? I always think it's cool to actually understand the science. So that makes you that's my philosophy, to help you be a better troubleshooter. So if we look at children and on the top and young adults on the bottom, basically everybody goes from awake and they cycle down through into that flat line on the bottom there, which is your deep sleep. That's the stuff, the good stuff I was talking about earlier, where they're washing their brains and they're releasing growth hormone and their immune system's working. And then everybody comes up through light sleep again. And these little peaks on the top here, not the black ones. Those black ones are your REM sleep or your dream sleep, but the little peaks are arousals. So that's when they might wake up. And then they go down again, and then they come back up. And what you'll notice is as the night goes on for both situations, you don't have any less, or you have a lot less or no deep sleep the latter half of the night, which is why a lot of parents report, oh, my child wakes up every couple of hours after midnight, or they wake up more. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, there is no deep sleep. 2, your drive to sleep is actually getting less and less as your body prepares and naturally makes cortisol to get ready to wake you up in the morning, right? So all humans, what this shows though, is all humans wake up in the night, but not all humans need to eat, be rocked, have a pacifier reinserted to fall back asleep, let's say after 4 months of age. Those are the learned habits, the sleep associations, the things that they think they need to fall asleep with. So, quick summary here. What can we do? Well, we can work on gentle practices early from 4 weeks of age. Timing alone, grab that sleep quiz, helpingbabysleep.com/sleep-quiz to get that timing chart. Timing alone can help you improve your naps and your put downs, but sleep really is a learned habit. And if that habit is sustainable for you, the way you're doing things, amazing. But it's also never too late to work on sleep. It's a very personal thing, and only you know when you're ready to work on that. We all have different thresholds. I have a step-by-step method that I've outlined in our book on Amazon or Audible, the Helping Babies Sleep Method. It comes with all the different sample schedules by age and a step-by-step method for the newborn stage to help you work on things proactively and avoid the common parenting pitfalls that so many people fall into. And then after 4 months, how to undo those unsustainable sleep habits that you may have taught so you can get your little one sleeping more with less effort from you. You can always come take a look at some of our other free resources at helpingbabiesleep.com.